Nightwing #3, written by Kyle Higgins, art by Eddie Barrows and Eduardo Pansica. Last left off with Haley of Haley's Circus dying in Nightwing's arms after leaving the circus to Nightwing, and revealing that there is some sort of conspiracy, what the circus really is, because there's a secret that's hidden in the heart of the circus. This issue picks up with a flashback 5 years ago to kids in the circus hanging out after one of the shows, I guess. Mr. Haley makes some calls to the kids' parents saying that they have some chores, but in reality he's just letting them goof off, and he lends them the keys to his truck so they can go to the movies. And at one point he gives Dick some advice saying like, hey, how about you like purposely slow down when you're racing to the truck, because that means you get to sit next to the girl Raya. And Dick's like, oh wow, thanks Mr. Haley. So then we cut back to now. It's his funeral, and basically a recap of what I just said. There's a secret and blah blah blah, and we just see the entire circus is here to put Mr. Haley to rest. And some people are, not happy with Haley. Some people are kind of just like, oh, okay, whatever, he's dead. But there are some people who are there with genuine grief. At one point, his son comes up, Brian Haley, I assume, and he's drunkenly accusing Grayson of like, oh, you think that circus is yours just because he handed you some piece of paper? You're taking away everything that we've built up. And just kind of has a breakdown drunkenly in front of his father's casket. Grayson's just standing there like dumbstruck. He doesn't even know what to do about it. Later on, he's sitting at a car talking to Raya. It's like, all right, look, Mr. Haley, he comes up with some cover story to Raya about how he went back and he found Mr. Haley there already being attacked by this masked killer, but he had no part in it. But he's like, all right, who do we know that would like be able to do this contract killing? And apparently, one of their friends from the flashback story at the beginning, Zane, after their other friend Raymond died, he just like lost it, and he went to Chicago, and he became essentially a booking agent for contract killers. He hooked killers up with jobs, and Grayson is shocked to hear this. But Raya's like, well, you never really check in. You always, whenever you don't want to deal with something, you just stay ahead of it. You don't ever stick around and actually deal with it. He's like, do you really think that? He's like, you didn't even come for the funeral for Raymond. So, yeah, bye. And she walks off upset. Meanwhile, Nightwing's like, all right, guess I'm going to Chicago. By the way, the circus at this point is leaving Gotham and they're going to Philadelphia. But that's neither here nor there. So he's going to Chicago. He's tracked down Zane because Zane's not really, he's not super high up, but he is enough to be noticed. He's on a couple of police watch lists. So after some bat technology, he manages to figure out exactly where he is. And as he goes in, Zane has all these banners up on the wall of him in the circus. Like, I guess he was in the trapeze or something, but Nightwing makes note of it, and he's like, okay, so seems like you preferred your old job a bit more. And Zane's like, nope, I just have a reminder of where I've been, so that way I don't ever end up there again, especially if someone comes in my office and threatens me. And then he does something. We see an outstretched hand, and then all of a sudden Nightwing is on the ground, seemingly in pain, hearing these voices in his head calling him a failure and loser and worthless as he sees like the death of his parents and stuff like that. And he's barely able to grasp at this at all as Zane starts unloading a gun in his direction. He does manage to dodge, he does manage to get out the way, but he's still seeing these hallucinations. His parents are up at the top of the trapeze, and he's like, are you going to let us die again, son? As they leap off to their deaths. Grayson dives after them, trying to save them, but they realize, like, okay, none of this is real. Just got to find something that, like, actually happened, something that's real. And he looks over and he sees Raya crying at a casket which I'm only bringing up because it comes up later, as he's then hit over the head with the butt of a gun. He's like, okay, this is actually Zane. This one's real. So he does as much logic and reasoning as he can figure out. He's like, all right, clearly Zane was not a meta before. He never had powers, so this is probably some sort of tech. Maybe it's something of like radio waves or something. So he flips something onto his suit, and he sees that there is radio waves nearby. So he flips on another function of the suit, because apparently the suit can do everything to invert the signal and send it back to Zane, and it succeeds, and Zane's now doubling over in the same pain Nightwing was in a second ago. So he's like, all right, look, all I want to know is who hired Psycho, because that's literally the only thing I'm here for. I'm not here for you, Zane. And Zane's like, I have no clue. I genuinely, because if I knew who did it, I would have killed them, because I didn't want Haley to die. And Nightwing's like, look, find a new career, Zane, because this one's not suited for you. And Nightwing then leaves Chicago, heads back to the train where the circus is being teleported through, knocks on Raya's door, and was like, look, I did attend Raymond's wedding. I saw you crying there at the casket, and it was the same. You had the same look on your face that you had at my parents' funeral, and I just could not deal with that, so I left without saying anything, but I was there. And I'm not running away from this circus either. Mr. Haley left it to me for a reason, so I'm in on that too. And Raya's like, that's so hot, and they immediately start smooching. So that's the end of that for right now. But then we cut back to what I think is Brian Haley. It's kind of hard to tell because there's a little bit of an art shift, but he's basically like, look, Dick Grayson was never supposed to be a part of this. Are you still going to kill him? And then we see Psycho, obviously still alive, and claiming, yes, of course I'm going to kill Dick Grayson. And that's where we leave off. This is fine. It feels like you packed two issues into one, though. Like, I feel like the end of one issue would be revealing that Zane had powers, and then the next issue would be him learning how to beat him. This just feels really rushed of like, okay, we got done with the funeral, we're dealing with Zane, we're done with Zane, now we're moving on to something else. It just feels like it was a bit rushed in that way. Overall, though, still pretty good. I'm going to give it a 6.5. Art-wise, nothing really popping out. It's all pretty stock standard for DC. They did do a good job of, Zane has this facial scar, and he's had it since, I guess, birth, or at least his youth. They do a good job in the flashbacks of showing, like, this is the guy that you're dealing with on the later page. So I'm good with them doing that. But overall, yeah, no, 6.5. Not quite as good as the last issue, but there always has to be a little bit of a low after a high. So see where it picks up from there.